NFL fans, we are exactly 1 week away from day one of the 2024 NFL Draft, and today we're going to mock draft my favorite division in the NFL, the NFC East. We're going to do a full 7-round mock draft for the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders. There are some rumors that some of these teams might be moving up early in the draft to take one of these quarterbacks, so we'll see who that is. Let's get into it. It's time to mock the NFC East for the 2024 NFL Draft. As you can see on the screen, Caleb Williams went to the Bears. Now, the Washington Commanders are on the board at number 2. They're going to draft a quarterback, but which one? Is it Drake May or is it Jaden Daniels? Dan Quinn is not an offensive guru by any stretch of the imagination. He's the new head coach for the Commanders, but they do have an amazing offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. He used to be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, where he worked with Kyler Murray, and in college he worked with Patrick Mahomes. So it just, to me, makes more sense if he goes with a guy like Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels had a way better year than Drake May did this year. Drake May kind of regressed in 2023. Yes, he doesn't have the best weapons at North Carolina, but he just misses way too many throws to me. Easy gimme throws that you need to make in the NFL. I think Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback, so that's why I'm going with Jaden Daniels to the Commanders at number 2. Next on the board is not the New England Patriots. The Giants traded with the Patriots, going from 6 up to 3. They had to give up a second-round pick this year and a third-round pick next year in order to get the number 3 pick. It's a very valuable pick. And now, what quarterback are they going to go with? Is it going to be Drake May or a guy like J.J. McCarthy? I watched an episode of Colin Cowherd's show the other day on YouTube, and he had a guest on his show that is really in the know with NFL teams and the draft process. So he mentioned that Easter weekend, the Giants flew up to Michigan to take J.J. McCarthy out to dinner. It seems like the Giants are doing a lot of due diligence on these quarterbacks, and it seems like they may like J.J. McCarthy the best. And this is actually a great situation for J.J. McCarthy because he can sit behind Daniel Jones for a year if he doesn't win the job outright and learn the position a little bit from a backup perspective and then take over the team in the next year or two. He's only 21 years of age, so it's really a good situation for J.J. McCarthy. And I think Daniel Jones is still a decent quarterback, and maybe he ups his trade value a little bit, and the Giants make a move maybe at the draft or some other time in the summer. So, the Giants up at 3 go with J.J. McCarthy. The Birds are picking at 22. I don't necessarily love how the board fell to them picking at 22. There were some really good guys. Terrion Arnold at 21, Fuaga at 20, Graham Barton at 19, and Fashanu at 18. Maybe the Eagles use some of that ammo they have with draft capital and move up to pick a better guy. But I do like Amarius Mims at 22, the tackle from Georgia. He's a really good player. And if you look at all the top 30 guys the Eagles brought in, the only guys that I gave first-round grades to are either offensive or defensive line. They did bring in Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry, but Kool-Aid McKinstry running in the high 4.4s is not a first-round pick in my opinion. And Cooper DeJean doesn't really have a position. He's kind of a hybrid safety kind of guy. And when you're drafting in the first round, maybe Cooper DeJean in the second round, but in the first round, I want to pick either offensive line or defensive line. I don't love interior defensive line for the Eagles with that new 3-4 defense. So Amarius Mims seems to be the pick for me. 6'7", 340 pounds. He's only 21 and a half too. He can sit for a year or two and learn the position and be kind of like a swing guard or a swing tackle to fill in when needed if injuries happen. But he's got great build, elite length for the pro level. He's fast. He's got fluid movement. He's got really good flexibility. He's strong. Good grip strength. He's a ferocious player. I like him at the tackle position for the Birds at pick 22. For the Cowboys picking at pick 24, this is probably worst case scenario. All the good offensive linemen are gone, and the Cowboys are desperate for offensive line help. Both their tackles are not very good in my opinion. They also need a center. The Cowboys' offensive line is in complete disarray. I don't think Jackson Powers-Johnson is worth a first-round pick, so I'm going to surprise some people and go defensive line. The Cowboys hired a new defensive coordinator, and he needs some weapons. So Jazon Newton, the stud D lineman from Illinois, 84 grade this year, 91 grade last year. Great pass rusher, very good against the run, over a 15% pass rush win rate, which I really, really like. 8 sacks from inside is very impressive. I like him to go to the Cowboys at pick 24. All right, the Commanders are up early in the second round. And for me, I want to give them some D-line help. They traded away like everyone on their defensive line. And I like both the guys from Penn State, Idris Isaac and Chop Robinson. I just think Chop Robinson has a higher upside than Isaac. So you take a flyer on the high upside. Chop Robinson, the DN from Penn State, is going to the Commanders at pick 36. Only a few picks later, the Washington Commanders are on the clock again. So I want to give Jaden Daniels some protection, right? Where are the good offensive linemen left in this draft? There's not a lot of them. We're scrolling all the way down to Kieran Amangaje. He's a very good player. He's got actually really good length. He's hard to evaluate because of the school that he went to, and he only played in 4 games this year, but he was very, very good in those games. 6'5", 318 pounds, and on film, he looks like a future pro. He's got really good size, and you can actually move him in at guard. He's considered a tackle by PFF, but I think he's more of a guard, and they definitely need offensive line help. I like Kieran Amangaje to the Commanders. You got to protect Jaden Daniels, and this is a good pick for them. The Eagles are up at pick 50. They got 2 picks in the second round, and they need cornerback help. I want to get one of these cornerbacks before all the good ones are gone. Kamari Lassiter is a very good player. 85 grade this past year. Very, very impressive. 6 foot, 180 pounds. Not premium size, but he's only 21 years old, a young 21. So he can put on size as he gets a little bit older. He's a very talented cornerback. Hand placement and punch timing is very, very good. He doesn't have the best footwork, but he's in control of his body. He's a good hand fighter, so he can play a little bit of man-to-man. If you look at his stats, man grade 81.5, that's excellent. In the NFL, you need corners that can play man-to-man. These guys are beast wide receivers nowadays. They're big, they're strong, they're physical. If you can't play man-to-man, you're not playing outside corner for me. He can. That's why Kamari Lassiter is going to the Birds. If you've been following my content, you know I love this next player. You can probably guess who it is. That's right, Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M. We got our offensive lineman early. We got our cornerback. Now we need to address the linebacker position. I think the Eagles should draft multiple linebackers in this draft. They're going to a 3-4 scheme, and for Vic Fangio to be successful, you need to have very, very good, athletic, quick, strong linebackers, and Edgerrin Cooper is a prototype. People might say you're overdrafting a linebacker this early in the second round, but I disagree. 86 against the pass, 87 against the run, 85 in coverage. He can do everything well. He needs to shore up his tackling a little bit, but he can be coached up on that. 90 grade this year, 58 tackles. I love his size, 6'3", 230 pounds. I mean, this guy, he's a downhill player. He's good against the run. He's not afraid to tackle. The cons, it says he's out of control a little bit. So you got to harness all that energy. That's why he misses tackles, right? So I think he'll get coached up by Vic Fangio, make him an excellent tackler too, and then he's going to be like an absolute complete monster linebacker. I love Edgerrin Cooper to the Birds. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock at pick 56. We got some interior defensive line help in round 1, and round 2 we have to address the offensive line. Absolute must. So to me, Roger Rosengarten is the best tackle left on the board. 79 grade in 2022, 71 grade in 2023. He was a tackle for that high-powered Washington offense with Michael Penix Jr. and Rome Odunze. He played 984 snaps at right tackle. He's a really excellent pass blocker. He needs some help in the run game a little bit, but Mel Kiper really loves Roger Rosengarten, and so do I. I think he's a really good player. He's got great size, 6'6", 300 pounds. He's probably more of a right tackle as opposed to a left tackle or an all-pro type of guard. I love Roger Rosengarten to the Cowboys in the second round. The Washington Commanders are on the clock in round 3. One of the biggest holes on the Commanders team is the tight end position. Now they have Zach Ertz penciled in as the number 1 tight end. He's an old man these days. He's not the player he was with the Eagles 5 or 10 years ago, but Jatavion Sanders can come in and get snaps right away. 45 receptions, 682 yards, over 15 yards per catch. I really like that. He's got great size too, 6'4", 243 pounds. He's a true athlete for the position. He has long speed, great acceleration. He can change directions to get open. He moves like a giant wide receiver. He can run all the routes on the route trees. He's a good blocker as well. He's everything you want in a tight end. I know it might be a little early for this pick, but he's not going to be around much longer, and add another layer of weapons to this Commanders offense. They have pretty decent wide receivers, so you really need to bring in a tight end to work with Jaden Daniels. I love this pick here. The Giants traded up in the first round from 6 to go to 3 to get their quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Now, let's give Daniel Jones and J.J. McCarthy some weapons. The best wide receiver left on the board to me is Malachi Corley. Excellent player. Over 80 grades the past 2 years. 82 receiving grade. He's really good against man coverage, which is an A+. He needs to work on his drops a little bit, but I like his size, 5'11", 210. He's a thicker 5'10", and he played a little bit of running back, so you can put him all over the field. He's got that running back background. It shows up. He's got really good contact balance. He can catch the ball, make people miss, make big plays down the field. The dude's got very strong hands. He catches the ball at the highest point. He's going to add another element to this offense and a wide receiver crew that needs a lot of help. He's definitely the best guy left on the board. I like him to go to the Giants. The Commanders are up at pick 78, and when you draft a quarterback as high as Jaden Daniels, you really need to protect him. They have a mediocre offensive line, so I want to add some more depth to this room. Cooper Beebe is the best offensive lineman left on the board. He can play center. He can play both guard positions. He's got good size for a guard, 6'4", 335 pounds. Got a high football IQ. He's just a football player in every stretch of the imagination. He's got good hand usage. He can effectively move defenders and open up lanes in the run game. I really like him in this spot for the Commanders. Let's protect Jaden Daniels. We need more and more offensive weapons. Cliff Kingsbury's there. We got to block for Jaden Daniels so we can throw to these high-level wide receivers. I like this spot for Cooper Beebe to go to the Commanders. The Cowboys are up at pick 87. They need a lot of offensive line help, right? They have Zach Martin at right guard, so I want to bring in a left guard. And that left guard is Mason McCormick from South Dakota State. 87 grade this year. He gave up 0 sacks and 832 snaps, and he played 830 snaps at left guard. He's a very good player. 6'5", 315. He's got really, really good size, man. Really good size. These are the trends. A lot of people think that the Packers will get a guy like McCormick. I really like him to the Cowboys, and Zach Martin is not getting any younger. So to add some more guard depth to a decimated offensive line, I like this pick in the 3rd round. With the last pick in the 3rd round, the Commanders are on the clock again. I want to add some depth to the cornerback position. They have like 11 corners on their roster, and none of them are really any good. This guy is a steal this late in the draft. Jarrian Jones, the cornerback from Florida State, 90 grade last year. Very impressive. 3 interceptions, 87 coverage grade, and the most important part, man coverage grade, a 90. This dude, Jarrian Jones, is a guy that teams like the Eagles and the Cowboys should be looking at too. I really like him. Look at all these pros, and like legitimately one con. It's crazy. He's a good tackler. He's quick balance, good footwork. He's good against the run. He's everything you want in a cornerback. He's going to the Commanders. Now the Giants are on the clock at 107. This is another team that is desperate for cornerbacks, right? The best cornerback left on the board is Renardo Green from Florida State, another Florida State guy. Very good too. 1 interception, 83 great coverage grade 86, man coverage grade 90. The Giants on their roster currently don't have one guy ranked in the top 100 for cornerbacks. Yeah, Renardo Green is a stud from Florida State to go to the Giants. Now the Eagles are on the clock, pick 120 in the 4th round. Tyreek Smith, the safety from Georgia, is definitely a consideration of mine. Let's just look and see who's left. But Devondre Sweat, oh man, he's so good. He is a very interesting play here for interior defensive linemen. Man, I can't pass him up. 91 grade, 6'4", 362. He's big enough to be the nose tackle in that 3-4 defense. We already have Jordan Davis, but you can never have too much depth at that position. Devondre Sweat is going to the Birds. The Commanders are on the clock, pick 139 in the 5th round. They need help at the safety position. Super bad. Super bad. And this guy, Malik Mustafa, he's fallen in a lot of people's mock drafts, but run defense grade 87. He's pretty decent in coverage, 72. But he's a tackling machine. 62 tackles. Oh my gosh. This guy is making tackles on 10% of the plays he's on the field. 5'11", 207. If you look at the analysis, he hits with everything he's got. He's got good mentality to play a physical safety position. The Commanders need help at safety, and Malik Mustafa is the guy. The Commanders are on the clock again at pick 152. I want to add some help to the edge of this Commanders defense. The defensive line got decimated last year when they traded everyone away. Gabe Murphy kind of gets overshadowed by Leatu Latu. 85 grade, over like a 79 grade all 3 years in college. 87 pass rush grade. Look at this pass rush win rate. Anything over 15% I like. 18% is a stud-like grade. 6'3", 260. The Commanders are crushing this draft, guys. Now, the Eagles are on the clock at pick 161 in the 5th round. I'm looking over who's left on the board. And when you're drafting this late in a draft, round 5, pick 26, you kind of want to find the best players left on the board. And to me, the Eagles need help at the safety position, right? They have Reed Blankenship, who's only on a 1-year deal, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's a fan favorite, but if you look at his PFF grades, he's really not that great of a player. He misses tackles, he over-pursues sometimes. So let's add a very sure safety in Ketan Oladapo from Oregon State. Coverage grade 84. Force incompletion rate over 19%. Excellent. Run defense grade 91. This dude's a stud, man. He's got good size too, 6'1", 217 in the 5th round. Ketan Oladapo is a Philadelphia Eagle. The New York Giants are on the clock at pick 166, and when scanning the board, they need a ton of offensive line help. Their offensive line is okay, but a couple injuries, and that offensive line is going to be a dumpster fire. And this guy is a late round pick that I really like. I've been scouting him in like rounds 5 and 6. Javon Foster, the tackle from Missouri, 80 grades every single year in college. Only 1 sack given up in 900 snaps this year. Zone grade 91. Run block grade 85. Pass block grade an 80. He's just a really good player. 6'5", 319. He can play guard. He can play tackle. I love him to the Giants at this point in the draft. The Eagles are up picking again at 172, and we're looking at the board. I want the best player available. Jordan Travis really intrigues me. Not for the Eagles, but I'm just looking, man. Look at those grades for a backup quarterback. Woo, that could be interesting. But for me, the Eagles still need a ton of help at cornerback. Bradbury and Slay probably won't be Philadelphia Eagles next year. So this guy can come into the room to Camarion Richardson. Very good player. 86 coverage grade, solid run defender, pretty decent with man, very good in zone. 86.4 grade. Vic Fangio runs that 3-4 defense with the 2 high safety, so there's going to be some zone coverage played with that defense. He's really good at zone. 6'2", 195. I love his size. He's got a ton of experience. Very good player. I mean, look at all that experience. Over 1,400 snaps the past 2 seasons. He didn't really play a lot in 2021, but he was still effective when he was on the field. Very good player. I like the Camarion Richardson for sure. The Cowboys are up at pick 174. The Cowboys are in desperate need of a running back. And looking at the guys that are left, there's some guys ranked higher than him, but I like him the best out of the batch of running backs left. Dylan Johnson comes from that huge, crazy offense at Washington with Romadunze and Michael Penix Jr. I love myself some Dylan Johnson, man. 88 grade this year, almost 1,200 yards, 16 tutties. Woo! Over 5 yards per carry. He's got great running back size too. 6 foot, 218 pounds. He's a steal this late in the draft. I love this pick for the Cowboys. All right, the Eagles are up in the 6th round. It's their final pick in the 2024 draft. I want to bring in a running back to complement Saquon Barkley. Kenny Gainwell is not that dude, but I think Frank Gore Jr. is a great complement to Saquon Barkley. 91 grade last year, 88 grade this year, elusive rating over 110, rushing grade at 90. He's a great zone scheme runner with an 89.6 grade. He had 1,100 yards on 229 attempts, 4.9 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. He's a little smaller in size, 5'8", 195, so he can kind of swing out, kind of take some carries away from Saquon Barkley, so he's not, taking a million carries a game. I like Frank Gore Jr. this late in the 6th round. All right, the Cowboys are up, pick 216. I want to add some wide receiver depth to this team. They need it. Let's take a look at Josh Cepheus from UTSA. Huge size, 6'3", 185 pounds. Excellent player. Played 13 games this year, 89 receptions, over 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 88 receiving grade. This is a steal this late in the draft for the Cowboys. The Commanders are up with their final pick of the draft in the 7th round. And to me, you're just looking for the best player on the board. And Jalen Sundell, the tackle from North Dakota, is that guy. They need tackle help. 82 overall grade, 89 pass block grade. If this guy had these kind of numbers at a big-time school, he'd be a day 1 or day 2 pick. 6'5", 300 pounds. He might not have the size to stick at tackle, but he can be an excellent guard. Sundell goes to the Commanders to close out the draft. All right, the Cowboys are up, pick 233 in the 7th round. I want to give them a little more help on the edge. I do want to address linebacker. Actually, Mississippi State Bulldog Nathaniel Watson is a pretty good player, man. 71 tackles, over 70 tackles the past 2 years. We need to address the linebacker position. And this guy could be a steal in the 7th round. 6'2", 245. I like his size. Yeah, you know what? Watson's going to the Cowboys. With our final pick of the 2024 NFL mock draft for the NFC East, the Cowboys are on the clock. I think we've done a pretty good job with the Cowboys everywhere, trying to pick the absolute best players. I'm looking around, trying to find a good steal in the 7th round. Hardy from Penn State. I mean, these guys all come with a little bit of flaws. Sam Hartman, the quarterback from Notre Dame, that's an interesting pick there. I'm just looking around, trying to find some value, but Yabi Oki Anuma, I don't know if I got that name right or not, but he's a pretty good edge defender in the 7th round. He's got good size, 6'5", 244, over 70 grades every single year. He's going to the Cowboys late in the 7th round. All right, all my NFC East fans, that wraps up the mock draft. 7 rounds for 2024. Jaden Daniels goes to the Commanders at 2. J.J. McCarthy to the Giants at 3, who traded up from 6 with the Patriots. Then the Eagles took Amarius Mims, the tackle, at 22. The Cowboys at 24 took the killer defensive lineman, Drazon Newton. I think throughout this draft we found a bunch of value for these NFC East teams. I think personally my Commanders draft was the best out of these 4 teams. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like my Cowboys draft? Do you like my Eagles draft? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.